Today on Fox 11 News In Depth, you already know how technology is changing all of our lives. But now, many companies are focused on helping those of us who are often left out. We'll see how groundbreaking ideas are enabling people with disabilities to interact, communicate, and play like never before. Fox 11 News In Depth starts right now. Hello everyone, I'm Hal Eisner. What would we do without computers? Our smartphones? Could we survive? Seems like an odd question, but the world around us is filled with walking phone zombies and talking to little things in our ears. We live in a world filled with technology, and today, how technology helps those who may not be able to see their devices or hear the sounds coming from them. Computers, smartphones, tablets, mobile technology, all of that having a profound impact on just about everything we do. How we communicate, how we access information and entertainment. We joke that the internet is all adult content and cat videos. But what if I told you that the best of technology can give independence back to children who've suffered loss due to war?
I still pinch myself the fact that I was able to teach a group of people to print. Many who had never worked with computers before and never seen a 3D printer before, and I taught them how to make arms. That's what technology has the potential to do.
What if I told you that the best of tech could help an artist who's lost the ability to move everything but his eyes?
Our writing culture was born of making something from nothing. I laid in bed, exploding with ideas that branched out from that initial concept. That's when I knew I wasn't done yet.
The best of tech is capable of this and so much more. Feel music like never before.
To watch them all of a sudden put these devices on.
Get ready for the full effect.
And all of a sudden experience music like they never experienced it before.
Never been to a live concert in my life. I'm very thrilled to come tonight.
You see this on my face? The smile is a perpetual smile because this was absolutely unbelievable.
No fingers, no forearm, no problem. You can still compete for that video game high score.
I can hit the buttons just as fast as they can. And I think I can crush my friends.
No matter how your body is or how fast you are, you can play.
Joining us now is an 11-year-old boy that you may have seen once before. His name is Grover Siegel. He's here with his mother, Jennifer Manley, and his dad, Andy Siegel. And Grover and his mom were featured in a Super Bowl commercial for Microsoft, seen by millions of people around the world. If you didn't see that, take a look now.
My name is Grover.
You never want your kid to feel like an outsider or an other.
When I'm playing with a regular controller, there's some things that don't work for me.
It's difficult for me to use both joysticks and the D-pad at the exact same time.
So, Grover, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
How cool was that?
It was really fun.
Like a Super Bowl commercial, like, wow. Like, you like the talk of all your friends?
Yeah.
I would have been too. That's really amazing. What would that feel like for you?
Well, it actually went really fast.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Unlike this show, which seems to be going very slow,
Yes,
right?
yes, like.
Oh, ooh, yeah, got it. Okay, so what we're talking about today is a pretty significant thing. You know, many people with disabilities have been excluded from playing video games. And it happens to be that because the standard controllers are so difficult to use, and you've experienced that yourself, now all of that is changing.
On the standard Xbox controller, it's just hard to press the buttons because can't really put pressure through my hands.
Microsoft heard about those issues and came up with a new adaptive controller for the Xbox that's giving people with disabilities an entirely different new way to compete with their friends on a more level playing field, if you will. And Grover, that device, and you've got that right here on the table in front of us, and I want to know how that works and why you like that better than the old controller, or if you like the old controller better than that. Grab that thing and show us how that works. Now, you have, well, I guess we could describe it as a birth defect, is that right?
Yeah, we call it a limb difference.
And a limb difference, okay.
He was born this way. They don't know what happened exactly to cause the stoppage in growth. But yeah, he was born that way. So he just has had to figure things out for himself in lots of different arenas.
And one of the things you were telling me earlier was that you knew there were options for prosthetics and things like that, but you opted not to go there because
we felt that he was really whole and complete as he was, and if there was a point when he needed a tool, we could go out and find one.
Which certainly seems pretty whole to me. I mean, you and I have been palling around here for the last hour or so, right? Show us how that works.
Okay, so I don't think you guys can see it, but there's like, it says, yeah, okay, no, but there's this thing that says A, so this is the A button. This is the B button.
Okay.
And then over here, there's like different logos, so like there's different things you can plug in. Like here, this is for like your feet, so like pretend my hand's my foot. Like you can just click it.
And that's like if you're playing a car game and you're driving a car, and then you can hit the gas, right?
You could also use that if you didn't have arms. You could use that for maybe shooting or for any kind of thing. You can.
And that's the point. This is not only for games.
Yeah.
Well, what else can it be used for?
Well, no, I mean this is mostly for gaming.
Yeah.
But all these different devices, you can adapt to whatever your needs are. Microsoft really made this incredibly diverse.
Okay, so from a gamer, and my son's a gamer, so I know, I think I understand how you guys think, I think. I'm not sure. But how does that compare to what we would think of as a normal gaming device?
Well, you know what? I think everyone can play on this because like this is 100% everyone. I think the regular controllers are like maybe 25 to like 40%.
You know what that looks like to me?
What?
Looks like a drum.
Oh yeah.
Okay. I like that. That was good.
Yeah, and you do use it. He will use that. You'll hit that with your little hand. And
right. Talk to me about technology. Dad, how important is technology to those who are disabled?
Well, I think technology is increasingly important to everyone and is part of just the world that we're all living in and for kids that they're growing up in. And I would imagine as a kid, if there are parts of technology and being social on technology that are appropriate for whatever age they are, that they're not able to participate in for whatever physical reason, that the ability to open that up is has got to be a positive thing.
It's interesting to me, when I was a kid, and this was probably, a few hundred years ago, we didn't have technology. We barely had calculators, and so we didn't benefit from that. And unfortunately, sometimes kids who were different got treated differently. Yeah. And so has that affected you in any way? Or you know what? Because you have devices, you don't get treated differently.
You know what? Like the first day, that everyone saw the commercial, everyone ran up to me. So obviously
they wanted your autograph.
Yeah. So they didn't really and so they were okay.
Yeah.
Having me have this cool thing.
That's
they
very
were
cool.
Excited.
Can I get your autograph?
Okay.
There you go. Just do it right there on my script for me and Grover and your folks. So glad you joined us. It's really interesting. This entire half hour is all about adaptive technology, this being one of the types of technology, and still ahead. Thank you so much. On Fox 11 News in Depth, we'll hear from an organization called Not Impossible Labs, and we'll see how they're creating whole new adaptive technologies to change the lives of people for the better. We'll be right back.
With vibration.
A technology incubator called Not Impossible Labs is setting out to change lives with new inventions that help people see or hear differently. They also give out awards to outside inventors, including the father of a little girl born profoundly deaf.
Then I found myself in the office, at home till 2 in the morning, just tinkering with this thing. It was fun. I mean, I was having fun. This was my way of dealing with
It's very emotional for parents to try to deal with these issues. That father, Jacob LaCourse, gets emotional when he talks about his invention called BeckDot, named for his daughter Rebecca, who is deaf and losing her sight. He found out that most deaf children are not being taught Braille, so his device gives Rebecca and other children the ability to scan objects and then find out what the Braille dots are for. His device won the Limitless Award from Not Impossible Labs, which is also coming up with a lot of its own inventions. And you know, you hear that father's story, it's heart-wrenching.
It's gut-wrenching, absolutely.
Yeah, and so what is it that you guys do?
So we're a technology incubator at Not Impossible Labs, and what we do is we find something that seems absurd to us, that doesn't seem like it should exist in this world, this modern day, and what we do is we set out to invent a solution for that absurdity.
Is that what you mean by incubator, that you get an idea and you incubate that idea until it meets fruition?
Absolutely. So we're a technology incubator and a content generator. So we invent that technology and we tell a beautiful story about it to help as many people as possible.
Talk to me about the device that's sitting on the table right now. This is to help people who are deaf?
This is our newest invention called Music Not Impossible. And what it is it transmits sound and breaks it up into many different vibrational signals wirelessly, and we transmit those across your body.
And we're seeing in the video there somebody putting that on, and
Absolutely.
I guess they're going to be performing with this or dancing with this or listening to the music. I'd like for us here in the studio to try this on and see what this is like. And so this is just really pretty much like I'm going to take off my jacket.
Absolutely.
This is very much like a, what, a backpack?
Yeah, so essentially what it is our CEO had found that, here, put your arm up a little bit, there you go. Our CEO had found that if you hear, not necessarily with your ears, but it's just transmitting signals to your brain, that you should be able to use the largest organ on your body, which is the skin, to be able to transmit those across your body. So instead of...
But if I'm profoundly deaf,
sure,
why am I suddenly going to hear music?
Well, we don't like to say necessarily that you hear music, but you experience it in a completely new way.
You feel it.
Even if you're deaf, or if you actually don't have any hearing
loss at all.
So
I'm going to feel vibration.
You will feel vibrations.
Show me a vibration. So this is manual, right?
Yes. Yeah, well, you turn it on, and you can cycle through soft,
can you hear that? Everybody can hear that, right?
Exactly.
Does it make me want to dance?
A little bit.
Okay.
So now, usually deaf people, when they hear music or they're at a concert, most deaf people, don't go to concerts, but if they do, they either have to take their shoes off to feel the vibrations on the floor, or put a balloon underneath there to catch the vibrations, stand in front of a large speaker. This is a way where we can transmit the sound from the music that you're hearing, and we can say, you know what, let's put your the hi-hat in your wrist, or let's put the bass in your back, or let's actually switch
these also vibrate.
Yeah.
And you put them on your wrist.
One on each wrist, one on each ankle, and so you'll be able to catch all the nuances from every piece of music that's playing, not just one frequency pounding your back like a bass.
But let me ask you this, and we can sit back down again. Sure. I want to understand. Yeah, I'll take this.
You could leave it on. We could go to the moon if you'd like.
Yeah, we probably could, like a jetpack.
Exactly.
Why was it that you came up with this idea that this is something that really needed to be made?
Well, we felt like that with music, it's something that's a universal language. And if you're deaf, you're pretty much a disenfranchised community in that space. So imagine never being able to go to a concert, or never hearing something that is so touching as like a Wagner piece.
But it's not just the deaf, it's also other disabilities like the blind.
Sure.
And you've been working on things for the blind, and tell me about that.
Yeah, so what we've done for people who are visually impaired, we've done certain pieces of technology, which actually we've recently worked with a man named Justin Bishop, who is a skateboarder who's lost his vision, and we're inventing technology, and we have actually invented some technology to help him navigate a skate park.
But what is the iWriter? Tell me about that.
The iWriter isn't necessarily for people who are blind, but we one of our first projects actually was to help someone named Tony TEMPT, who was a paralyzed graffiti artist. He was stricken with ALS, and he was prolific in the Los Angeles scene for years, and he hadn't been able to write or draw.
Is that who we're looking at right now?
Yeah, that's exactly who you're looking at. And he hadn't been able to write or draw for more than 7 years, laying motionless in his bed. So our CEO and founder, Mick Ebeling, he actually invented something called the iWriter, which allowed him to draw for the first time again using just his eyes.
It seems to me like you're in a terrible prison.
Yeah.
When you're stuck in your body and the only thing that works
is
your
eyes. It's a locked-in
eyes.
syndrome, you know, and can you imagine laying there motionless and not having the one thing that's your creative outlet, the thing that brings you the most joy in life, and not being able to do that or experience that? That is an absurdity to us that we set out to solve. We didn't know how we were going to do it. Mick didn't know what he was going to get himself into, but he said this is just something that should not be, so we're going to fix it.
Tell me about the kids in Darfur, or the area of Darfur.
Yeah, so our CEO, again, Mick Ebling, he found, he read an article about a little boy who had had his arms taken off through
that little boy right there?
Yeah, Daniel. And he had had his arms taken off through a bombing accident. And it actually wasn't an accident, it's a campaign of terror. And what he did is he read this story and he said, I don't know how I'm going to do this, but I'm going to go out and fix this. And so he ended up, and from 4 weeks about to the day, he went out and created the world's first mobile 3D printing prosthetics lab in the South Sudan and taught the locals how to do it themselves.
I got to tell you, I have always gotten a headache trying to think about 3D printing.
Trust me.
I'm not even sure I understand it completely, but
yeah.
the notion that you can think of an idea, lay it out, print it, make it happen, and is just phenomenal.
Yeah, technology today has the power to be, you know, a lot of times it connotes ideas of Big Brother and the end of the world or scary, or the savior on the other side. Is it Jekyll or is it Hyde? But we like to think of it as being both. It's up to the humanity aspect of that.
One more thing,
yeah.
real quick. What would you like to do in the future if you could do anything that's not impossible?
Well, nothing's impossible, right? Everything that was impossible before at one point is possible today. The lights, the studio, the cameras we're looking into. At one point, when people thought about that 100 years ago, that was like, what do you mean somebody in New York can see this broadcast?
Right.
So everything that was impossible at one point
is now possible.
So today, what I would think myself is if anything's impossible, I mean, I would like to have my shoes be little jetpacks so I can get out of the traffic.
Boy,
sometimes.
I'm with you on that, and I'm going to take my shoes and I'm going to jetpack right out of this break right now.
Absolutely.
Into the commercial. Thanks so much for being with us. I really
Thanks so much,
appreciate it. Still ahead, lots of other tech companies are also working on adaptive technologies. Inventions like an exoskeleton that's making it easier for kids with cerebral palsy to walk. That and more coming up. We've shown you some amazing new inventions today, and we've heard from some of the people those technologies are helping. But as Ron Popeil used to say in those infomercials for the Vegematic, you remember that? He said, wait, there's more. Well, wait, there's more. Joining me now is Fox 11 tech producer Shaka Armstrong, and this is your area of expertise. You're always in our newsroom working on all kinds of technology that you get from various companies. In fact, what kind of got us to this program today was something you and I had talked about in the newsroom about Legos for the blind.
Yeah, you know, so part of being a tech producer, obviously a lot of companies want to get their products on the air, whether it's commercial or nonprofit. And so I get pitches from adaptive tech companies all the time. And one of the pitches was Lego Braille blocks, which is a fascinating project out of the UK. And they're one of the projects that we wanted to get on the show today, but again, being in the UK, we weren't able to get them in. But we wanted to show this to you because it's really important technology. Now
talk to me about this, because what we're seeing in the video is a young boy. He's obviously visually, he's blind, and he's looking. Now Legos have little dots anyway on them.
So they have the dots anyway that allow you to build and stack items. But what they did with the dots in this case, with the Braille blocks or Braille bricks, is they shape the dots in the pattern of Braille letters, numbers, and mathematics symbols. Or
that makes a lot of sense, actually.
You know, it's one of those things that when I saw it, I thought, this didn't exist already?
Yeah.
You know, but it will be out in 2020. The pack comes with 250 bricks that will cover the alphabet, numbers, 0 to 9, math symbols. And they're working with some of the Braille organizations, some of the blind organizations, to test these out. And like I said, it'll be rolling out in 2020.
I'd like to hear a little bit about something else you and I talked about, and that's this thing called SpeakC.
SpeakC is fascinating to me. One of the things that people take for granted is the ability to be in a conference room maybe and have conversations going on with multiple people. But if you're deaf and you're using real-time speech-to-text translation, you don't know who's talking to you.
Yeah.
You just know that you're getting all these messages from a bunch of different people. But what SpeakC did is they created these color-coded blocks that you set in front of people and you can attach names to. So if Mary, Tim, Jamal, and LaShawn are sitting in the room with you, you can assign those names to each color-coded block, and now you see who's talking to you.
So if I'm in the conversation, I have a block, let's say it's red coded. When the red comes up, it's me.
I can actually assign your name Hal to that red color-coded block. So on my tablet, on the screen in front of me, I'm going to see Hal said, you know, welcome to In Depth.
Why is that an important thing to be manufactured?
Context. When you're seeing a bunch of words and you don't know necessarily where they're coming from, you're missing some of the context of a conversation. So different cues, different verbal cues that we take for granted, somebody who's deaf may not, if they're looking at a screen and not looking at somebody's face to see where it's coming from, they may not pick up on some of that context. So it really is a profound way to really be more inclusive in those conversations.
We showed something right before the break. It was an exoskeleton outfit of something. What was that?
Well, we had a couple different products. This was another pitch I received. One of them was from a company called Rome. Specifically, the one we saw on the tees was from the National Institutes of Health. This is at one of their medical research labs, the
that little boy right there,
medicine department.
he's got an exoskeleton outfit on.
He
right
has
there.
an exoskeleton legs. What those are for children with cerebral palsy who have what they call crouch or flex knee gait. What this does is allow them to walk straight. You'll see sometimes maybe if you're out and about somebody with cerebral palsy and they're kind of hobbling along, they're kind of like they're crouching or squatting a bit. And this allows them to stand fully straight up and be mobile. Because maybe they're wheelchair bound because of the flex knee gait.
That's phenomenal. Last thought here in a quickie, please. You've spent all your life right now dealing with technology. What's your bottom line on this stuff?
I think culturally, we have to learn to see the value in inclusion, regardless of what that inclusion looks like. We don't spend enough money on education, generally budget-wise, government-wise, because education doesn't make money, you know? So these aren't things that are necessarily going to make you Apple and make you a multi-billion-dollar valued corporation, but these are things that can enable the next generation who might make the products that an Apple sells be able to be a part of the team and a part of the discussion.
And how important is all of that? Very important.
Very
Shaka.
much so.
Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Big help. We'll be back right after this. Don't go away. Looking for a great podcast? I'm biased, but I like this one. What the hell? And this week we'll continue our conversation on adaptive technology for those with disabilities. You can download it on any of the places where you get your podcast, Google, iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify. It's out there everywhere. Thanks for joining us this week. You have a great week. We'll see you next time. Take care, everybody.